1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. Commission Coach fans. Oh, thanks for tuning in. We're going to get at like a 10-minute session with all the best parts of it so that you can just listen to this on the way over to your listening presentation if you don't have it down yet. So we'll get that up on the YouTube channel or the podcast and the Jim Fannon Show. So in the spirit of giving you some fresh content every day, here we are, and we're going to give you some more fresh content today. We're going over some of the stuff we've already, excuse my unpreparedness, already gone over. We're just going to hit on some of the major points when you're talking to your seller about commissions, which you should be. And I suggest that you start off by telling them right off the bat that commissions are negotiable. Why don't agents do that? Well, my theory is that they think that they're going to come away with less commission if they tell them that. But the sellers already know the commissions are negotiable. They've done several deals probably, know several people that have negotiated a commission either before they list their house or before they accept an offer, which is when the seller has leverage. For the only time in the transaction, the answer to the question, when's the seller's best time to negotiate commission, has to be before they accept less than full price. So before they do that, that's the only time in the whole transaction, the real estate transaction for the seller, that they actually have leverage over the agents in their commission. So let's save negotiation until then. Until then, we could try something different, which is, don't let your vendors fall for the lie that a lower commission will net them more money, because it just simply is not true. In fact, it could work against them. And, you've seen in the market where the discount commission comes in and agents just don't want to show the houses or don't want to work on it. Damn. What is that? Oh, my Cody box does not... It doesn't want to work for me. It just wants to give me a near cardiac arrest when the alerts come on. So we're going to go over this step by step. We're going to give you as much information as you need to get a price reduction and a selling broker increase at the same time. Co-op, in your case, if you're in the States, we call it selling broker here in Canada. And I just want to give you as much information as we can. And sellers, hey, if you're even trying to sell privately, you can still use this information to help put more money in your pocket by offering more to the buyer broker, the agent that doesn't represent you. So I would encourage you to forward this to anyone that it could help. I'm a realtor here in Niagara. I have been for over 25 years. And if there's one thing that I'm still passionate about, it's falling commission and downward pressure on selling broker commission, listing commissions as well, with the idea that if I get a lower commission, I'm going to save money or I'm going to put more money in my pocket. Not true. So please forward this to anyone that you think it can help, whether they be a seller or an agent, or better yet, you've heard me say this before, a trainer that you're paying mega dollars to every month, and they don't talk to you about commissions. I had a top trainer tell me, well, good luck with that, because we don't talk too in-depth about commissions because it's illegal. It's illegal to coach your agents on how to use commission to put more money in the seller's pocket. Ridiculous. Not only is it not illegal, it's not anti-competitive. I can have a group of people, 500 in numbers if I wanted, and have the same conversation without it being anti-competitive or, being seen as we're trying to fix prices. I don't care what you charge for your commission. In fact, if you're going to give a discount or a deal to someone because they're loyal or because they're family or something, do it from the listing end of things, because then it doesn't negatively affect your buyer brokers. So this is not an anti-competitive conversation. And if you go to thecommissioncoach.com, thecommissioncoach.com, I'll give you all this information free. I'm just looking for this to spread, and I'm looking to dispel this false narrative that a lower commission means more money in the seller's pocket. Not true. In fact, almost opposite. And if the opposite of that is true, then an inflated rate of commission could put more money in your pocket. So please forward this to anyone that you think it can help, whether it be a trainer, a seller, or an agent, or a broker, or a conference that maybe needs to hear this. I haven't spoke at any yet, but I'm going to try and get out to some in the following 12 months. You know what should be illegal? This is what should be illegal. If you're taking a 5 or 6% commission as the listing agent and you're unilaterally discounting the buyer broker's commission below the most common rate in the market without having a discussion with the seller about what the impact could be on their listing and their bottom line, that is what I think should be illegal. I don't think you're working for the seller if you're discounting the buyer broker commission lower than 50% or lower than the most common rate in the market, and you're not having a discussion with them. I don't see how that's anything but breach of contract. I am not a lawyer, and I'm not giving legal advice here. I'm just saying that is something that apparently is happening, and I feel strongly against doing anything like that. So one of the things, I use a 4% selling broker commission. I take a 7% listing with 3 to the selling broker, which I've always gotten throughout the years. Hey, I am the king of cutting commissions. I'm not saying don't cut commissions. In fact, if it puts a deal together, I think you've been in a situation where cutting commission can be helpful. 75% of something's better than 0% of nothing. So this is designed to make your listing stand out from the rest, number one. 2, we're hoping to change the enthusiasm of the buyer's agent that works for the buyer, that's trying to get the buyer the best price. You'd be surprised when the bonus is factored in. Sometimes I ask the agent, well, what do you want? You want a better sign back with a normal commission, or you want the inflated rate with a higher sign back? Many times that buyer broker will say, you know what, give me the higher one. Let me see if I can get it done. They want to get their money. And so if greed is good, let's use it to the seller's advantage. And I'm not speaking absolutes here. I don't know all the answers to all the questions in real estate, although I do have a strong track record over the last 25 years. I'm not a 200-end-year guy, but I am almost 100% successful on getting 4% to the selling broker every time on every one of my listings, obviously with the support of the seller, or I wouldn't get it. The seller understands that they will pay more money to get more money. And if they have to pay a couple $1,000 more to get maybe $10,000 more, I think the obvious $8,000 lift is something that they'd be willing to at least try. So we're looking to, 1, make the listing stand out from every other listing. Sometimes you've got 3 townhouses. They could be right beside each other. They could be most likely the same features in the same price range, and they don't vary a whole lot. If you've got one at $1 commission, like a private owner-assisted site maybe might offer, or a discounted commission, and then you've got one in my market, the most common rate is 2.5 right now. It used to be 3, but we see about 60% of the listings now are up to 2.5 on my last survey anyways, 2.5% to the selling broker. And then out of those, 60% of those listings are the most common rate. 40% of them are below the most common rate. And then you see a couple that are still at the 3% that strong agents used to get back in the day. And I still look at the 3% to selling broker listings and go, hey, strong agent. So we offer 4 to the selling broker with the idea that if you, the seller, received an offer for full pop, then they're going to have to pay an inflated rate of commission. And we've said this many times, that the softest close for you is turning around with a listing signed. There's no risk now because you've got both signatures on the contract. You're headed out the door with a 4 or 5 or 6% listing. And whatever to the selling broker, hopefully half of that, whatever it is. And you turn around and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, just a quick question. If we were able to get a full price cash offer closing in 30 days from a from another buyer broker. In other words, it's not me. Would you pay that buyer broker an inflated rate of commission, 4%, for a full price offer? I think a great deal, a great number of the times, the seller will say, hell yeah, full pop? Yeah, I'd pay an extra 2% to get full pop for sure. Because we know that many times the seller doesn't expect to get full price. In fact, sometimes they build in tens of thousands of dollars only just to come down. They call it negotiation room. And you know what it's like. Sometimes beating that negotiation room out of a seller is impossible. They want it there because they want room to come down and look negotiable. So if they're building in tens of thousands of dollars of negotiability into their contract, let's build in some leverage. You know, justifying your value with the seller is just a bad idea. Telling them how long you went to school and how expensive advertising is, and justifying your value is the weakest way to maintain your commission. An easy way to increase your commission is to build in leverage to the deal. Okay, so we're offering 4% to the selling price, and this is just how I set I used to take 3.5 and 3.5, but paying me, the listing agent, an extra half point doesn't necessarily put more money in your pocket. Offering extra money to the selling broker, the buyer broker, or the co-op could put more money in your pocket. So I take a 7% listing, I offer 4 to the selling broker, and I tell my people, if you get something close to full price, then you're going to have to pay an inflated rate of commission. Also, going back and forth, leave the bonus in for as long as possible. And then at some point, your seller's going to say to you, Mr. Agent, this is my last sign back. This is it. This is as low as I'm going to go. And at which point that would be a good time to communicate to the selling broker, the buyer broker, or the co-op, whatever it's called in your area, that this is your last chance at 4% to selling broker. This is your last chance at 4 points. Get it accepted, and you'll get your 4. If you change it and bring it back, you could be working for a lot less, maybe half, because that's the normal rate in the market. So we talked about when the best time for the seller to negotiate their commission is, and that's just before you accept an offer that's not full price. You know what full price means. You know how much the commission is if you accept that. And, you know, I love the question. I love your answers to the question of, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Listing Agent, how much do you charge to sell a home? Well, if your answer to that question is anything other than negotiable, I suggest you rethink your answer. It shouldn't be a number, obviously. That could lose your business right on the phone. But telling them something they know already, but maybe most likely have forgotten, it is good for business. So tell them straight up. The most important thing in this transaction is the fact that you communicate with the seller and tell them your commission is negotiable now when you take a listing, but more importantly, it's negotiable later when you, the seller, have leverage. We've gone over that a number of times, so I'm not going to beat that to death. But it is an important question, and I think that many agents, if you've been in the business even a couple years, you've been asked at parties, on the phone, on a duty call, floor time, or what have you, hey, how much do you charge? Rethink your answer, because I think you're all getting it wrong. And this idea that we're going to build leverage into the listing and not justify your value. We're going to build leverage in, something we can take away later if you don't get your price. Start with something that motivates the buyer. I mean, I'm not telling you that 1 or 2 or 2.5% doesn't motivate the buyer. We're in this to sell properties, to make money, to make a living. But I can tell you that an inflated rate of commission could make your listing stand out, could put more money in the pocket of the vendor. And you know what the answer to the question when an agent calls you and says, hey, listing agent, how much will this thing sell for? It's so easy. It's so easy to stand on your contract and stand in the place of your vendor and say, hey, if you bring me full pop or something close to it, I know he'll pay you 4%. That's all I know. I don't know how much he'll take. And this is a great idea for the freshen up. You got one of those vendors you haven't talked to in a little while? There's nothing really to say to them, so you don't call. So the first thing would be call. Two, you might want to acknowledge right up front. I know you haven't heard from me in a while, but I really haven't had anything to report, so I'm calling to see if you might be interested in freshening up the listing a little bit. Well, I'm not giving you you can come over, but I'm not giving you a price reduction. Okay, great. That's a good client. Somebody's sticking to their price. That's fine. It might be their undoing, but let's soften them up a little bit. Let's say, you know what? I won't. I promise. I'm going to come over. I need 20 minutes of your time. I promise I won't even talk price. Can I come over and talk about a few ideas that I have to freshen up your listing? Sure. Come on over. I'm not giving you a price reduction. Okay. See you in 20 minutes. The freshen up. If you're not going to at least try to see if at full pop the seller would increase the buyer broker commission, then I think that's a wasted opportunity. So there's 3 things I want you to do when you go over for the freshen up. We'll talk about commission last. 1, change your possession date to immediate. We're not looking to make the seller, look desperate, but we do want to appeal to the buyers that have their home sold already, that want to close, they have a need to close quickly, like in under 30 days. And I often ask my sellers, listen, if I brought you full pop, would you move and full as fast as the lawyers can close the deal? Often you will get a yes to that. Most people often have alternative arrangements that they can make. Sometimes you can't. But I suggest if you're going to do a freshen up, the first thing you look at is possession date, immediate. If you're using 60 to 120 days or TBA, I think it's a mistake, and it's a lost opportunity to potentially put more money in your pocket by appealing to a group of buyers that have their home sold, that are all cash, and they have a need to close quickly. You want to appeal to those people. It's a simple thing. Hey, it's not going to make or break your listing, but it can't hurt. So let's do it. 2, include all the appliances and anything that adds value in the listing price. If you are saying appliances are negotiable, missed opportunity. Please. It doesn't add any value to say appliances are negotiable. Everything's negotiable. We get it. Throw them in at full price. Again, the question to your seller would be just like possession. Hey, if you got full pop, could you leave as fast as 2 weeks, as fast as lawyers could close it? Yes, great. Let's change this. Hey, if you got full pop, would you leave all your appliances, the garden tools, the barbecue, the gas barbecue that's hooked up to the house, like anything that adds value? Now, if your appliances and barbecue and lawnmower are all garbage, then don't include them, obviously. Duh. But if they add value, include them at full price. Then, just like everything else, you want a 90-day close? Well, we wanted something quicker, so we'll take a 90-day close, but we're not doing it at that price. You're going to have to bring us more money. Same thing. As you come down in price, if you've got $10,000 worth of appliances built into the listing, then at full pop they stay. And then if you reduce it by 10 grand, you can take them out and say, hey, I'll take 10 grand off the house, but you're not getting my appliances. Everything's negotiable. And the best part of it is if you're at a 1.75, a 2, a 2.25, anything lower than the most common rate in the market to the buyer broker, let's look at increasing your buyer broker commission. You don't have to touch yours. I'm not saying that you deserve more money. You should be looking for a raise. Even better, the agent that talks to the seller about increasing the buyer broker's commission because it could put more money in the seller's pocket is an unselfish thing that you can do for the seller to put more money in his pocket. You're not actually looking for more money, only to motivate the buyer broker. So let's take a look at what your commission is and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if, again, simple question, if a buyer broker that's not me. Now, I also recommend that if you double end the deal, you offer your vendor a better deal, especially if you're at 7%. My script is, listen, even if I brought you full pop cash closing in 30 days, I won't charge you 7%. I'll do it for 5%. We'll talk about how that comes into play at open house. When the buyer looks at the feature sheet and goes, hey, what's 4% to SB? Well, that's how much your agent gets paid if you bring them in on the deal. Do you have an agent that you're loyal to? Not at 4%, I don't. Are you kidding me? How much if I deal with you? Well, I'm glad you asked. In my jurisdiction, agents by law have to disclose to another agent in a competing offer situation, especially if it's your own offer, that you have a special arrangement with the vendor, the seller, on commission. For instance, if I brought you full pop, I'm not going to charge you the 4% to go to the selling broker because it's not really helping put more money in your pocket. I'm already trying to get you the most money possible. So if I sell it myself, it's a huge bonus. Let me take care of you. You're obviously taking care of me. I found my own buyer. I'm getting more of the commission, so I will do both ends for 5%. And you're discounting back to a rate that's basically the regular rate in the market. So you're not dropping your drawers on commission. So this would be the third piece that I look for when I go in for a price reduction. I'd be looking to say, listen, would you consider offering a higher selling broker commission to a buyer broker that doesn't work for you if they brought you something close to full price? And I've been doing this for a long time, and the scripts are very deliberate. Something close to full price. It doesn't, listen, I'm not saying, especially, and you can have this conversation with your vendor, you don't come down $2,000 off your price and then cut $10,000 off the commission. That's not reasonable, right? And even every seller will say that to you. So we leave the bonus until the very end, and then we use it as leverage. We threaten to take away a higher commission to the selling broker. Hey, maybe it doesn't mean anything to the selling broker. Well, then fine. They won't care to cut back to 2% then, so it's a better deal for your seller. But these are very deliberate scripts that I've developed over, I guess 25 years I've been doing this, and I've got almost 100% hit rate at 4% to selling broker. And this is something that you should use on your friends and family, especially if you love them. Don't discount the co-op or buyer broker commission. Don't do it, man. It hurts your listing, and it could hurt the vendor's bottom line, and also hurt the saleability of your listing. Maybe your market time will go up too. So we did touch a little bit on the open house, and when I put it right on my feature sheets, 4% to SB. Now, most buyers, prospects, don't know what 4% to SB means. I can tell you the agents do. And when I send that out to agents as a flyer, and it's got it right in there, note 4% to SB, I put it in the remarks on my listing. They get it what it means, and some will call and say, what is that, a 4% listing? No, 7. How are you getting that? Well, my response is always, buy me lunch and I'll teach you. So I've had this attitude for the last 20 years, let's say. About 15 years ago, I actually did a seminar with a bunch of realtors in my jurisdiction here. And, I did put 7% in there as far as like get 7% every time. I'm not trying to fix the rates of commission, but we did have about 20 top producers come out to it. And my board of directors served me with a cease and desist right before my conversation with a bunch of agents on how 4% to selling broker could potentially put more money in their pocket, because they thought I was being risky and potentially anti-competitive. And so I just don't understand, if you're paying $500 or $600 American a month to a coach, and they're not talking about the most important thing for your seller and you, commissions. I don't get it. Looks like a wide open market. So I'm hoping you will share this. Again, thecommissioncoach.com. You'll be greeted with a pop-up. If you fill out the information in that pop-up, I will call you at a date and time that works for you. Take 20 minutes, maybe 30 if you've got questions, to answer all the questions that you have about how using an inflated rate of commission could put more money in your pocket, and how sellers, even if you're private, hey, sellers, purple bricks, yeah, no problem. Don't offer 2% to selling broker because it's below the most common rate. I can't say market rate because I think that's anti-competitive right there. There is no market rate. The most common rate in the market is 2.5. Don't offer 2%. What do you want to be lower than everyone else is paying, or the majority of people are offering to pay? And that's the other thing. Offering a higher selling broker commission doesn't mean you're going to pay it. If you take significantly less for your property, you can expect leverage when you say, I've come down 20 grand. I want to knock 2 points off my commission here. Can we do this? In other words, I've got leverage now, and I will take this offer. I will agree to accept this offer if you agree to accept this commission. Do we have a deal? It's the only time you have leverage. So we talked about a little bit about it at open house. So the buyer will inadvertently say, hey, maybe not like that. What's 4% to SB mean? Well, that's how much we pay your agent if you bring him in on the deal. And very often, the question from the prospect could be, well, how much have I deal with you? Well, you know that it's immoral. What's the word I'm looking for? Something along those lines. To say, well, if you deal with me, you'll get a better deal. But some buyers only shop with the listing broker because they think the listing broker has more control over the commissions and more room to cut, thus buying the prospect or the buyer a better deal. I know that's not necessarily true all the time, but it could be perfectly acceptable at that point in time when the buyer says, well, how much if I deal with you, to explain to the buyer your pre-existing deal with the seller that says, if I bring you an acceptable offer, I'll do it for less. Instead of taking 7% with 4% to the selling broker, I'll do it for a total of 5%. That's 2% less than the contract price, even if I brought you full pop. Now, you may not want to disclose that to the prospect at open house, but I think it's perfectly acceptable to do it at that point. Then you leave the prospect to figure out how much 2% of list price is, which is going to be a lot of money. And you don't have to say a word. We're not skaters. We don't, I've been in this business for 25 years, like I said, and I respect people's clients. I don't leave blade marks on my agent's back because I need to work with them down the road. Burning the bridge doesn't help do that. But this is something that could work in your favor as a listing agent when you're at open house. And we all know how much you agents love open house, don't you? The strong agent, you can see a strong agent because they stand for their own commission. A strong agent will also stand in a firm place of the contract price for the seller. The seller doesn't want the agent that drops his drawers right off the bat on his commission, does he? The seller wants somebody who not only can stand for their own commission, but can stand for their full pop, their list price, and try and get them the most money possible. The way you can spot a weak agent, discounted selling broker commission, 120 days possession date, and appliances negotiable. Oh, geez, stop it. Appliances negotiable does not add value to your listing. And so what you're trying to do is include them at full pop, give immediate possession at full pop, and 4% to selling broker at full pop. Do you get it? So we talked a little bit about how to answer the question, how much is your commission? We talked a little bit about, are you setting your seller up for full price? And by asking these important questions all the way down, you're checking the boxes. Okay, at full price, would you do this? Would you pay this? Would you offer it this quickly as far as possession goes? You know, the bottom line is the bottom line. And I believe that your seller's bottom line, and In other words, what the seller nets after commission is the most important thing to them. I don't think they're so much worried about whether your commission is 10 or 12,000 or the agent's commission is 10 or 12,000. There's expenses on selling a house. We know that. But this is the most important thing to the vendor is obviously the bottom line, not the total commission. So let's increase the total commission to get the bottom line up. If you can display to your seller that you've put more money in their pocket than your appraisal came out to, than your expectations were, or sometimes the buyer's agent goes, you know what? I wanted the extra money, so I just got them to take it. Sometimes it's as easy as, you know what, guys, it's just $5,000. Just take it. That's my advice. Sometimes it works. So the bottom line is the bottom line, and you can help by creating a safe place for your sellers too. Number one, tell them commissions are negotiable. 2, tell them when the best time to negotiate with you is. Who's the better negotiator, you or the client? So tell them when the best time to negotiate with you is. You might also want to get into holdover clauses. Many agents don't talk about that. You can talk about if there are taxes on it, is there a transaction fee? Explain the details of the listing every time so that if you ever get called out for it and they can say, call you from the lawyer's office, you get the call, oh, you didn't tell me there was GST or some sort of tax on commission. Yeah, I did, because I can prove it, because I've got 300 people that came before you that can attest to the fact that I told them, and I do every time. Benjamin, what's up, Benji? Oh, don't call him Benji. His name's Benjamin. Okay, so I'm going to sign off here. I just want to get some work done here. Part of the work these days is communicating with you on how to use this technology to put more money in your pocket. If you go to thecommissioncoach.com, sign up, email me from there. realestate@teamniagara.ca is my real estate address if you want to send me a note. Give me a date and time that works for you. I'll take 20 minutes to a half an hour to have this conversation with you to teach you everything that you need to know and everything that you need to talk to your sellers about so that you can use a higher rate of commission to potentially put more money in your pocket. I mean the seller's pocket. And if it doesn't work, you can negotiate down to a regular commission, whatever that happens to be. Thecommissioncoach.com, realestate@teamniagara.ca. Book a time. We'll call you back, whether we have to go conference call or webcast or by phone. We'll spend a half an hour teaching you everything that you need to know on how to get an inflated rate of commission to your sellers. Okay.